The rain fell in sheets, relentless and cold, pounding against the shattered remains of the market square. Smoke still curled upward from burned stalls, mingling with the acrid scent of melted metal and ash. The once bustling place, full of laughter and trade, was now a graveyard of twisted steel and scorched stone. In the middle of it all, a lone figure knelt, trembling, her forefinger hands clutching the frayed hem of a torn cloak. Tali had nothing left. The attack had come without warning. A streak of light across the sky, followed by an explosion that shattered her world. Her home was gone. Her family. She didn't even know. The marketplace had been her last desperate hope of finding food, shelter, maybe someone who recognized her. But the soldiers had arrived instead, not her people's soldiers, but the kind with black armor and eyes like cold glass. They had driven everyone away, taking anything of value and leaving only ruin. She was small for her kind, barely past the age when her back furrows first unfolded, but she had learned to keep her head low and her movements quiet. Even so, when the soldiers had seen her, one had laughed and tossed her to the ground like a sack. She could still feel the bruise blossoming along her ribs, though the rain numbed most of the pain now. Her cloak was soaked through, her skin shivering beneath it. She didn't cry. She'd learned not to, not because she was strong, but because cry made her head ache and her throat burn, and no one came anyway. She sat there, numb, watching the water pool around her knees until a shadow fell over her. She froze. Slowly, she raised her eyes, expecting to see another armored figure ready to shove her aside. But it wasn't. The man in front of her was different. Tall, but not in a way that loomed. His clothes were strange. Layers of fabric instead of plates of armor, dark from the rain, but intact. His hair clung to his forehead, and his breath came in quick puffs, as if he'd been running. He crouched down, and his face softened when he saw her. "Hey," he said quietly, as if speaking too loudly might break her. "Are you hurt?" She blinked, not answering. His voice was warm, not sharp like the soldiers. But she had heard kindness before, and it had turned to betrayal fast enough. She pulled her cloak tighter, shrinking back. He didn't move closer. His eyes searched her face, reading something there she couldn't name. Then, slowly, he reached into his coat and pulled out a strip of cloth, a scarf, long and thick. He held it out, not touching her. "You're freezing." Her first instinct was to refuse. Nothing was free anymore. But the wind gusted, slicing through her thin cloak like knives, and she couldn't stop the violent shiver that shook her body. Her fingers twitched toward the scarf, then hesitated. "Go on," he urged gently. She took it, wrapping it around her shoulders. The fabric was warm from him, and it smelled faintly of something earthy and safe. She didn't realize until then how empty her stomach felt, how tired her limbs were. He glanced over his shoulder, scanning the destroyed square, then looked back at her. "It's not safe here. You'll freeze or—" He didn't finish the sentence. Instead, he stood and extended his hand. "Come with me." She stared at that hand. His skin was pale compared to hers, the lines of his palm deep and human. She wanted to trust it, but her mind whispered that trust had cost her everything before. She shook her head and curled in tighter. He didn't get angry. Instead, he crouched again, bringing himself down to her eye level. "I'm not going to hurt you. I promise." His voice cracked slightly on that last word, as if the thought of hurting her was unbearable. "You can walk beside me, or behind me if you want. Just don't stay here." Something in his tone, quiet desperation, maybe made her chest ache. Slowly, she rose, keeping the scarf clutched close. She didn't take his hand, but she followed him when he began to walk. They didn't speak for a long time. The city around them was a ghost. Streets littered with broken glass and debris. Every distant sound made her flinch, but he seemed to notice, adjusting his pace so she was always half shielded by his body. Eventually, they reached a narrow alley where a heavy metal door stood half hidden. He pushed it open, gesturing for her to enter. The space inside was dim but dry, the air warmer than outside. Crates and blankets were piled in one corner, and a small heater glowed faintly. She stood by the door, unsure if she should go further. "Sit," he said softly, nodding to her folded blanket. "I'll get you something hot." She did. pulling the scarf tighter again. He rummaged in a pack, producing a metal cup and pouring steaming liquid from a thermos. The smell made her mouth water. He handed it to her, and she hesitated only a moment before sipping. It was bitter and strange, but the heat spread through her chest like firelight. "My name's Jonah," he said after a while. She swallowed and looked away. Names were dangerous. If you gave someone your name, it was easier for them to find you or to tell others. "That's all right," he said, as if he understood her silence. "You don't have to tell me yours." "Not yet." They stayed like that for a long time, her sipping the drink in small, careful gulps, him tending to a small fire in the heater. She watched him when he wasn't looking. He didn't move like the soldiers, all sharp edges and orders. He moved quietly, deliberately, as if every motion was meant to reassure. When she set the cup down, he noticed the way her hands trembled. Without asking, he crossed the room, crouched in front of her again, and gently draped another blanket over her shoulders. She tensed at first, but then the weight of it, the warmth, was almost too much. Her throat tightened painfully. And then, without warning, he reached out and wrapped his arms around her. It wasn't rough or urgent. It was slow, as if he was giving her time to pull away as she wanted. His arms were strong but not crushing, his body warm against the cold that had seeped into her bones. For the first time in she didn't even know how long, she felt something loosen inside her chest. She didn't mean to, but the first sob slipped out before she could stop it. Then another. Soon, the tears came faster, soaking his coat, and she hated herself for it but couldn't stop. He didn't say anything. He just held her, his hand moving slowly over her back, steady and unhurried, as if telling her that however long it took, he would stay. When the sobs finally faded into shaky breaths, she realized she was gripping his shirt in her hands. As if letting go would send her back into the cold. She loosened her grip slowly, embarrassed, but he didn't move away. "You're safe here," he murmured. "No one's going to take you from me." She closed her eyes, the weight of those words pressing against the hollow space in her chest. Maybe they were just words. Maybe he couldn't keep that promise. But in that moment, wrapped in his arms, she believed him. The rain kept falling outside. But for the first time since the sky had burned, Tali felt something other than fear. She felt warm. She felt seen. And though she still had nothing, no home, no family, no certainty, she had the fragile, trembling seed of something she thought she'd lost forever. Hope.